My sister traded her intelligence for my beauty, but she didn't know that trades need both sides to agree to be valid. On exam day, she wanted her smarts back, but I wasn't playing along. Later, I got into a prestigious college while she got pregnant before marriage, and our biased parents went nuts. Me and my sister Lily are fraternal twins, but we're opposites. She's ugly and overweight but crazy smart, while I'm dull but gorgeous. From the start, Lily was always better at everything. At school, teachers adored her as the top student. Me, I was the beautiful but hopelessly stupid last in my grade. No matter how hard I tried, knowledge just wouldn't stick. Lily could just skim a textbook before exams and easily get top marks. Teachers called her a once-in-a-lifetime genius. For me, they only had size. How could Becky be so dumb? No effort seemed to help. That's why my parents favored her so much. When we went out as a family, Lily always walked in the middle, with each parent holding one of her hands, leaving me trailing behind. If a neighbor mentioned my looks, my mom would gently hug Lily and start putting me down. Looks aren't everything. She's not smart. Always dead last in exams. So clueless. Unlike Lily, who always topped the whole school. My dad would just nod along. 2 daughters. One sent to repay kindness, the other for revenge. Growing up, toys and clothes always went to Lily first. Her rejects became my hand-me-downs. On a children's day when I was 8, right before a dance competition, Mom got me a pair of white embroidered shoes. But the night before the performance, Lily snatched them without so much as a word. I cried my eyes out. Without matching shoes, I couldn't perform. Everyone knew that. My mom just coldly watched. Becky, let your sister have them. My dad shoved me down, his tone harsh. Why waste time dancing when you should be studying? We can't afford for you to learn dance. The next day, without shoes, I got replaced after practicing for months, left in the audience to watch others perform. From then on, I stopped looking forward to Children's Day. Later, Lily stepped in dog poop near our community garden and tossed those shoes to me in disgust. I, little as I was, sat on a bench scrubbing them over and over, wearing them for as long as they fit. Meals were always made to Lily's taste at home. Even though I'm allergic to fish and shrimp, we often ate them for days because Lily liked them. Allergies, my foot. Just being picky. Mom would scold me while happily piling deshelled shrimp into Lily's bowl. Your sister is living like a lady, but with a maid's fate. Worst grades, highest demands. Dad, half drunk, would slap the table heavily. I bet you're just full and bored. Go hungry for a while. I dare say you'll eat then. After exams, go work in the factory to pay for your sister's schooling. Lily, with eyes squinting menacingly, would taunt me as she picked shrimp from her bowl. Becky, ever wonder why you're so dumb? It's 'cause you don't eat fish. Eat up. Who knows, maybe one day you'll get smarter. I don't want my dear sister dropping out at 18 to work. Though if you do, the factory heads might notice you, and you'll live it up in luxury. Calmly, I'd push the fish aside. If you're so envious, why don't you go? Before Lily could snap back, Mom stood up and slapped me hard. If you won't eat, then leave. Stop saying jinx stuff. Your sister's aiming for a top university. She even took time to help with your studies. Lily would only teach me the most complicated solutions. The more she taught, the worse I did. The worse I got, the more her brilliance as a sibling shone. She didn't even like fish or shrimp until one day. After I ate some, my skin broke out in a red rash. Since then, Lily became a seafood fan. She excelled in biology and knew the risk of severe allergies leading to death. She just didn't care. I kinda understood why she disliked me growing up. Every guy Lily liked always liked me back. Beauty gave me this one useless perk. Take the new transfer student Lily fancies, the school heartthrob Ken. Lily chased him boldly, took my milk to give to him during homeroom, brought him towels and water at basketball games, skipped math contests just to watch him play. Even the school dogs knew Lily was into Ken. Classmates privately mocked her desperate attempts. Ken's grades were poor, but his family was wealthy, donating several school buildings. My family was just working class. Blushing, Lily handed Ken a love letter, stumbled away without looking back. Ken didn't even glance, crumpled it up, and tossed it into a nearby trash can, voice clear. Your sister? No way. Too ugly. He leaned in, warm breath tickling my ear, smiling mischievously. But I might consider. For the first time, Lily's academic star power fizzled in her pursuit of Ken. I didn't like Ken, but I didn't want to turn him down, so I flashed a charming smile. Why don't you write me a love letter too? Lots of guys probably write you love letters, right? Ken's cool pale fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk, clearly intrigued. Teach me how to write one that'd make you say yes. Sounds like he's playing nice. I looked up at him, taking in his wild and handsome features, and felt a surge of mischief I couldn't control. Get my sister to give me your love letter, and maybe I'll think about it. He was clearly taken aback, like he hadn't expected me to say something like that. I blinked innocently and added, my sister really likes you. I don't want to hurt her, but if we're going to be a thing, you'll have to be the bad guy and tell her. Ken ruffled his messy hair, covering his mischievous eyes. You're the first to make demands of me, he said, and then flicked my forehead gently, half smirking. Just wait. This was one of the few chances I had to outdo Lily. Growing up, she always won. I just couldn't stand it. As soon as I got home, Lily couldn't wait to accuse me. Look, Mom and Dad, Becky's not studying at school. She's just trying to lure boys. You might as well make her drop out now. She laid Ken's love letter out on the coffee table. But to my surprise, Mom was suddenly gentle with me. Becky, what do you feel like eating? I'll make it for you later. Dad was smoking, greed written all over his face. Ken's the only son of that big company, right? Becky, make sure you seize this opportunity. He glared at Lily. Stop picking on your sister. That company's got no shortage of top university graduates. Someday you might have to ask your sister for a job. Turns out, my parents didn't love any particular daughter. They loved the daughter who was useful to them. You could see the jealousy and anger deepen in Lily's eyes. I smiled sweetly. Just no fish or shrimp for me. From that day on, fish and shrimp never showed up at our dinner table again, no matter how much Lily fussed. I need fish to boost my brain. What if I don't get into a good college? But Mom just ignored her. Your sister's got severe allergies. If something happens to her, we're done for. Our status in the family flipped completely. At school, Ken pulled out all the stops, like any rich playboy would, to win me over. Every day after school, his dark purple Lamborghini would be parked at the gate, ready to take us for fancy French dinners. Beautiful clothes and expensive gifts kept flowing into my hands. Ken even got up early to make me special breakfasts himself. I became the center of attention at school, and every time I ran into Ken's group, they'd all shout in unison, "Hey, sister-in-law." Worried I might be unhappy, Ken was openly hostile to Lily. When it came time to move seats in class, students with better grades got first pick for choosing a desk partner. Lily chose Ken, maybe hoping he'd notice her inner beauty. But Ken found her intolerable, and even complained to his mom about her bothering him. The next day, every student was sitting alone. Everyone knew why, and rumors spread like wildfire through school. Lily's confidence, built up since childhood, slowly crumbled away. On the night of her 17th birthday, she went nearly hysterical when she saw the bracelet worth nearly $5,000 on my wrist. Why? Why does everyone like you? Whether it's Ken or any other guy, you can't do anything. All you have is your looks. What makes you worthy of this bracelet? I pulled her in front of a mirror. In the reflection, her size was double mine. Because of our parents' favoritism, I was undernourished while she had too much. I spoke softly, a hint of cunning in my voice. Sis, if you were a guy, who would you pick? Lily stared blankly at her reflection. The contrast was so stark that she stood there speechless for a while, then silently left the room. The system voice I'd been waiting for finally echoed in my mind. Host, Lily requests to exchange her intellect for your appearance. Do you agree? Without hesitation, I agreed. Jealousy finally drove her mad. This time, I was determined to win. Hard work plus talent is a gold mine. During the winter break of my sophomore year, my body ballooned uncontrollably, and my face broke out in acne like never before. At the same time, I got my first taste of photographic memory. Most multiple-choice questions only needed a glance, and the answers popped into my head without any calculations required. New concepts were quickly grasped just by flipping through the textbook. For the first time, I enjoyed solving math problems rather than feeling dizzy at the sight of numbers. Before, I'd have to work through similar math problems over and over, only to stumble when conditions changed even slightly. My brain was like a foggy mess with no clear way out. My sister was, as the teachers put it, a 1 in a million genius. Her start was what most people would work a lifetime to achieve, but she never treasured this gift. Meanwhile, Lily's body grew slender, and no matter what she ate, she wouldn't gain weight. Her once round face became a delicate heart shape, and her dark skin turned smooth and fair as her acne vanished. The entire break, I crammed all night long, not wasting an ounce of brilliance. Lily, on the other hand, spent every minute on beauty routines and fashion, never wasting an ounce of her newfound beauty. By the time school started, Lily was even more stunning than I used to be. The love notes that once piled up on my desk are now stacking one after another on Lily's desk. Guys who once swore undying love for me in those notes now can't hide the disgust and disdain in their eyes when they see me. Some of them even joke about having chased me, like it's some sort of embarrassing past. Damn, that Becky from class 3, she's ugly, dumb, and fat. What was I thinking when I liked her? Luckily, she didn't say yes to me. Exactly. But her sister, she's really transformed for the better. The real beauty lies in knowledge. While it's possible for someone not to like money, no one can resist beauty, especially teenage guys. Ken isn't any different. His eyes drift over to Lily, and he only offers me a few token words. Ken managed to win over Lily during the school's welcome party. Lily wore a simple light pink tulle dress, and she danced gracefully on stage, singing a well-known sweet song. As she sang, a warm white spotlight highlighted Lily, making her appear even more ethereal. Then a deep male voice joined in perfectly. Ken, wearing a sharply cut black suit with a couple of buttons undone on his white shirt, had his slender silhouette stretched by the light, and he naturally took Lily's extended hand. When their dance ended, Lily leaned charmingly on Ken's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her slim waist with a mischievous smile. Lily's gaze drifted towards me from the stage, as if showing off that she'd won again. But I just lowered my head, focusing on a world-class math problem. The Sierpinski conjecture. Many brilliant mathematicians have dedicated their lives attempting to prove it. This conjecture intrigued me even back when I was struggling with math. I'm not interested in flashy youth. I'd rather spend my life with mathematics, like a solitary scholar. After the first senior year exam, two guys behind me argued about the last math multiple choice question. Was it B or D? While listening, I tried to work out the Sierpinski problem. One of the guys who chose B started explaining his solution step by step. When I heard his mistake, I turned around and said the answer is D. You messed up here. It should be. The guy who chose B looked at me like I was nuts, while the other guy who chose D started to wail. Oh no, she's probably right. How did I end up choosing the same answer as Becky? Before I could finish explaining, the math class representative handed out the thick stack of answer sheets. To my surprise, the answer was B, matching the mistake in his solution. No wonder so many people got it wrong. Behind me, the noise got louder. See, I told you it was B. It's Becky's fault. Whatever she picks is bound to be wrong. Who does she think she is, trying to teach us? Just because she's not Lily, she's just plain and dumb. Who would have thought that just 2 months ago, they were fawning over me? Math is good because once you understand it, it's always reliable. Way more dependable than flaky guys. I didn't say a word, just corrected my answer in red pen. As the saying goes, never argue with a fool. The exam results were unexpected for everyone. There were over 1,000 students in our grade. I leapt from the bottom of the class to the top 30, while Lily slipped from forever number 1 to 400-something. She still had her base from the first 2 years, but was too distracted by romance to juggle senior year's rigorous science problems. Meanwhile, I patched up my weak foundation over the years. Thankfully, Lily's intelligence wasn't wasted, as she had more than enough time to catch up within a year. Intelligence is a valuable thing. If she doesn't want it, I'll gladly use it. Because of Ken, my parents have switched their attitudes towards me and Lily 180 degrees again. I've been ignored since I was a kid, so I couldn't care less. Lily, on the other hand, seemed to regain her lost dignity, and became even more obsessed with maintaining her looks, constantly checking mirrors. During one math class, even the teacher who praised Lily as his prize student had enough. He confiscated her mirror, speaking more sternly than ever. "Lily, if you keep slacking off, getting into a good college will be hard. Remember when I said you could get into a top school? You used to do well without much effort, but I can't ignore it anymore. I don't want to see you waste your talent. It's the greatest gift. A wrong choice could ruin your life. Do you understand?" Then the teacher glanced meaningfully at Ken, dozing in the back row. Lily just brushed him off. "Teacher, I could be number one easily. The textbook is too simple. I only need a glance. Why waste time studying? You won't be disappointed on the day of the exam." I think Lily plans to swap back her brains with mine before the exam. What she doesn't know is, exchanging brains and looks needs both parties' consent. The system told me, not her. I won't agree to it. Instead of wasting her smarts on dating, I'll use them to tackle math problems and contribute to science. Lily, with open arms and grand words. "Hey, could you give me my mirror back? I promise you'll get every penny of that bonus for producing a top student in the exams. Geniuses like me don't need supervision." The math teacher went from shocked to heartbroken in just a second. From that day on, she never tried to advise her again. She and Ken started ignoring all school rules, appearing together all over campus. Ken even started visiting my house openly. My parents were quite happy about it, and always prepared his favorite meals and snacks. Ken appreciated it, saying our home's warmth was nothing like his cold, empty mansion where he was always alone. The walls at home are thin and not soundproof at all, so I kept getting distracted by their playful teasing. I had no choice but to pack up my backpack and head to the local university library to study. In the library, I found the very book I'd been searching for, a collection of historical and modern mathematical ideas. The shelf was too high. Even on my tiptoes, I couldn't reach it. I sighed, turned around to look for a librarian to get a ladder, and bumped into a guy. I caught a whiff of a light pine scent. The guy was wearing a white school uniform with Third High School on it. His messy hair didn't hide his striking features. His collar was unbuttoned, showing cool white collarbones. He reached up and easily pulled down the book of mathematical ideas. I hesitated but finally asked him, "Hey, when you're done with that book, could you lend it to me?" I was ready to be rejected. After my looks changed, most guys treated me badly, like my appearance somehow offended them. But this handsome guy just chuckled, showing off his cute little fangs. "It's for my dad. He's the head of the math department." "You're a student? Love math?" I didn't deny it. The boy's slightly squinted eyes showed interest. "Well, give me your contact info. When my dad's done, I'll hand it over to you." I scribbled my name and number on a sticky note. He smiled casually and asked, "You're planning to study here all night, right?" I pointed to the seat by the shelf, indicating the book on mathematical logic I was looking at, and nodded. He picked up my notebook. After a while, he was speechless with shock. "Are you trying to prove the Sibling conjecture?" "It's my dad's doctoral study topic. His life's biggest wish is to see the Sibling conjecture proven before he dies. Since it was proposed by British logician Sibling in the 90s, countless mathematicians have tried and failed. My dad's worked on it for 30 years with little progress." "Are you really a high schooler? You're a genius." I scratched my head sheepishly. After being seen as a fool for so long, it felt odd to be looked at like a math whiz. What was this strange feeling? Before I could reply, he closed my notebook and pulled me towards the library exit. "Hey, where are you taking me?" I tried to pull away. With sincere eyes, he said, "I must introduce you to my dad. If he knew I let a rising star of Chinese math slip away, he'd erase me from the family tree. No, he'd probably exile me from China, denying me Chinese food forever." His expression was dramatic. He ruffled his hair, eyebrows furrowed in thought. Suddenly he reached out. "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm John." His words amused me. Needing the guidance of an experienced math professor, I agreed and hopped onto his bike. At his place, the professor and I hit it off. After a lively discussion, we realized my proof was missing one vital step. Despite both of us racking our brains, we couldn't crack it. Time passed, And when John brought in noodles with tomatoes and eggs from the kitchen, I realized how hungry I was. During a break, the professor made a big decision to transfer John from the best school in the city to mine. He called it sacrificing an unimportant kid to support a rising math star in China. It was worth it. I later found out John had already won a physics competition and got into a top university on scholarship. On the way home, John lifted his strong jawline excited. "Can I really be your classmate? If your paper wins global awards, can you mention me in the acknowledgments?" My dad never mentions me because I chose physics over math. Who would have thought this cool, handsome genius was also a chatty guy? I laughed softly. "Of course I'll mention you. No one can stop me." Surprised by my easy agreement, John made me swear by it. Only after I raised 3 fingers in an oath did he relax, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. "Should I get lucky and publish a world-renowned physics paper, I'll mention you in my acknowledgments too." Back home, it was only 11 p.m. Not too late, so I decided to spend 2 hours on the Math Ideas book before bed. But Lily, for some reason, was having a fit, claiming the sound of me turning pages kept her awake, and ordered me to stop studying. Before, when I was struggling and burning midnight oil with no results, she'd enjoyed it the most. Lily pounded on my door, her voice sharp. "Becky, all your effort is wasted. You'll never beat me, give it up. Besides, you're so ugly now. No man will want you. Men conquer the world, women conquer men. Don't you understand? I don't get it. I really don't. Why can't women conquer the world? Isn't conquering the world way more interesting than conquering men? Besides, what's Ken, the guy who's second to last in the entire grade, gonna conquer?" I was so mad I shouted, "Lily, gender equality is a basic national policy. Didn't you get the memo?" I don't know if I imagined it, but I heard the system say, all riled up, "Well said." Speaking of which, I still don't get why the system secretly helped me. Why didn't it tell Lily that redemption requires both parties to agree for it to work? "System, you there? I have questions for you." I called softly, trying to get to the bottom of this. But the system, all aloof and proud, ignored me. Well, that system's mind is like the ocean's depths, impossible to predict. In math class, the teacher was reviewing the last exam. We're going from left to right. Every kid in the 3rd row explains one multiple-choice question. It got to me, and wouldn't you know it, it was the last question I got wrong. First of all, the answer to this isn't B, it's D. In step 3, you need to. Before I could finish, the math teacher interrupted me impatiently. "What's with you 2 sisters? One of you doesn't study at all. The other just starts to improve, and then questions the answers. You're both quite something. Just go with the answer key." I checked, the answers are right. He took all his frustration with Lily out on me. Before I could say anything, the professor walked in with John, and the principal, all sycophantic, led them into the room. The professor clapped the principal on the shoulder, looking pleased. "Doing pretty well, I see. You were the worst in academic achievements among the grad students I taught in the class of '87. Unexpectedly, you're now the principal." Looking at me, the principal quickly changed the subject, saying sternly, "You can't talk back to teachers. Sit down. Now, everyone listen up. There's a big math lecture by the professor at Zhongshan University tonight, and we want the student with exceptional math talent to attend." Which student? Everyone turned to look at Lily. Even though her last test results weren't good, they figured she just needed to buckle down a little, and she'd be back on top. They all knew how capable Lily was at studying. She once memorized an entire biology textbook in a day, able to recall details by the page and paragraph. Photographic memory. Lily cast her eyes down, pretending to be shy, reinforcing my classmates' assumptions. 2 guys behind me started laying it on thick. If I were Becky, with such a gifted sister, I'd just give up. She's just plain dumb and ugly, making her sister look even smarter. What's the point of her being around? Exactly. And she keeps saying the answers are wrong. Could it be that she's the one who's wrong? Furious, I pounded the desk and stood up. The principal looked puzzled. "Didn't I just tell you to sit down? I'm the student the professor's looking for." As soon as I said that, laughter erupted all around me. Back when Lily got first place, it was a piece of cake for her. Without much studying, she still left the second place far behind. That was real math talent. But for Becky, who only improved by grinding through problems, how could she dare to reach for the stars with the university professor? I felt a stab of annoyance at their pettiness. But then the professor walked over, patted me on the shoulder, and said, "Becky, remember to share your understanding of the sit-and-pan conjecture with the undergrads at my lecture tonight." The principal and math teacher exclaimed at the same time, "The sit-and-pan conjecture? You, a high schooler?" Smacking the back of the principal's head, the professor chided, "Yeah, the concept you couldn't grasp over 3 years as a grad? Yet a high schooler gets it. You're really something." The principal's face turned beet red, too ashamed to speak. My once mocking classmates shut up, perhaps not knowing what the sit-and-pan conjecture was, but grasping the conversation enough to realize it was some seriously tough stuff. Under the gazes of the female students, John brought over a desk and sat beside me. Gently he comforted me. "Don't listen to them. I've met countless smart people, but persistence and relentless effort are way more valuable." I nodded. His thoughts matched mine. Lily, gifted but lazy, always got top grades in tests, but so what? I'm chasing innovation breakthroughs, showing the world what I've got with the Chinese flag at a global math conference. My exam scores climbed steadily after that, from 30th place, to 10th, to 1st, and never fell again. At first, some disgruntled classmates spread rumors about me cheating, but by consistently taking top spot several times, I silenced them without saying a word. In just 1 year, Lily slipped from 400th place to 600th, landing at 1000th now. I replaced Lily as the school's top pick for prestigious university programs. She became the cautionary tale teachers used to tell students not to start dating early. The Kozitpan conjecture had me stuck. No matter how hard I tried, or how much of my free time I spent after all my studying, I just couldn't prove that final crucial step. The professor kept cheering me on, giving me all the support he could. "You're in high school, and you're already doing amazing. Mathematicians usually hit their peak in their 20s. Focus on your exams for now," he would say. Meanwhile, Lily had started bragging about her wealth around me more often. Our company spent billions buying land in the new city district for luxury housing development, she'd boast. Or she'd flash her watch. "This thing cost 200 grand. Bet you've never seen that kind of money." And the candlelight dinner Ken took me to last time cost 5,000 or 6,000 a meal. I didn't care about any of it. It just bugged me that she wasted my precious time with her bragging. I plugged my ears, flipping through a book on mathematical thinking, feeling annoyed. "So what?" I snapped. "Ken's been hanging out a lot with some dancer from class 5. Good luck with that. He's a rich kid with fickle tastes." I hit a sore spot. Ken hadn't been around our house for almost a month. My parents kept nagging Lily to find him, and in her frustration, she took it out on me. She grabbed my book and tore up the page on reverse thinking. Studying. It's pointless. Reverse thinking is so simple. Your hours staring at it are useless." Wait, she's right. If reverse thinking is simple, maybe I've overcomplicated that last step. I had an epiphany. I spent tons of time reading and researching countless theories, and now it all came together in my head. No time to argue with Lily. I shut my door, grabbed a pen and paper, and worked all night making small tweaks to the theories I'd reversed before. Everything finally fit perfectly. After triple-checking everything, I sent the proof to Professor. Within 10 minutes, he called to congratulate me. The old man was thrilled. "Becky, tonight, organize your work into a paper for me to sign. We're submitting this to the top journal, Symbolic Logic. Anything less would be unworthy of your genius." Only 20 days left before exams. After submitting the paper, I focused all my energy on studying while waiting for the final review. But then something odd happened. A system notification kept popping up. "Lily requests to trade her looks for your intelligence. Do you agree?" Of course I refused. But the request appeared countless times, increasing as exams drew near. Each time I said no, I could hear Lily's anxious pacing next door. "Why isn't it working? Why can't I trade? What's wrong with this thing?" Until the night before the exam, Lily lost it. She screamed at my door, accusing me of stealing her brain, calling me a shameless thief. My parents didn't believe her, thinking exam stress had driven her mad. They tried comforting her. It's okay, you're pregnant. Focus on that. Even if he doesn't acknowledge you, he can't deny the baby. Relax. Becky plans to study math, but math doesn't pay. High school math teachers hardly earn enough for a meal. Internally, I rolled my eyes. Parents with such a limited outlook only cause harm. Even the pig sellers they mocked have built billion-dollar empires. Just when I thought I could make it through the exams and escape this suffocating home, Lily did something terrible. She dragged me down. Despite beauty, wealth, love, and family, she couldn't stand seeing me succeed, just like when we were kids. The alarm rang at 8:30. I jumped up without hesitation. All my hard work was finally going to be tested in the exam. Grabbing my exam ticket and ID, I packed up to leave only to find the door wouldn't open. Lily laughed maniacally outside. If Becky leaves today for the exam, I'm aborting this baby instantly, she threatened. My parents nervously promised no one gets out, not even a fly. I pounded on the door, growing more desperate, which only fueled Lily's excitement. So, you love studying, huh? All your hard work gone in a flash, how does it feel? You'll never surpass me, Becky. You're doomed to be under my foot forever. Without a second thought, I dialed the cops. At the same time, I called the professor. Professor was furious. Are your parents insane? They know that if your paper's published in the Symbolic Logic Journal, you'll be in the history books. They're throwing away your future for peanuts. Disgraceful. Shameful. He cut the call, determined. John and I are on our way. Hang in there. In that moment, the professor seemed more like my dad than my real father. John's video call came through, his eyes gentle but firm. If you miss this exam, I'll retake the year with you. If your parents won't have you, my dad would be thrilled to gain a daughter. He loves math as much as you. The outside of my house was filled with people. The professor brought a group of college guys along with a few cops. When professor asked them to break down the door, the police hesitated. This is technically a family matter. If we bust down the door without due cause, and a video gets out, it could tarnish the country's image internationally. By now it was already 8:45. The exam starts at 9 o'clock, with doors closing at 9:15. Desperate, the professor shouted, "Follow me to pick the locks and break down doors, and I'll help you with internship certificates and job recommendations." Those college guys, they're built like they could give the cops a run for their money. The cops made a show of trying to stop them, but a gentle push from the students had them sprawling on the ground, just yelling, "Don't use violence, let's talk it out," while making no effort to actually stop them. With their silent approval, the college guys went at it even more vigorously. Just after 9, they finally busted through the door to my room. Even my parents and Lily were no match for them. As I was about to step out of the house, my mom shouted, "Becky, think it over. You leave today, you're never coming back. We won't acknowledge you as our daughter." My dad chimed in too, saying, "We won't accept you. Even if you get into college, don't expect us to pay for it. If anything happens to your sister's baby, we won't rest in peace." I sneered, "Professor, would you mind getting us a document to officially sever ties with them?" And I walked away without looking back. 2 police motorcycles were ready and waiting for John and me downstairs. As soon as we hopped on, the officer connected with traffic control on his radio. "Traffic control, this is Jingham Police Station. We need all lights green from Happy Community to Advanced High School for a couple of students needing to be at their exam by 9:15. We zipped down the road. The officer riding with me tried to reassure me. "No worries. Once you're done with the exam, you never have to go back there. You've grown up in that environment without giving up on yourself. Whether or not you get into college, you're already exceptional." Cars made way for us, strangers more concerned with my future than my own parents. Everyone still believes that exams can change a life, that poor kids making it big happen across our land all the time. By 9:13, John and I reached the school gate. In those last 2 minutes, we sprinted to separate exam rooms for the first big test in our lives. At 9:15, as the second hand hit 12, I took my seat. The first exam was language arts. The essay prompt was, "Is talent or hard work more important?" People have debated this forever. Edison said genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. But some say the rest of the quote goes. That 1% is extremely important, and sometimes more so than the 99%. Students were asked to discuss and write an 800-1000-word essay. When I handed in my paper, I couldn't help but burst into tears. I felt hurt, unwilling. I'd never held expectations for my parents, but today's pain might take a lifetime to heal. After the language arts exam, the professor took me into his home. I've always wanted a daughter to follow in my mathematical footsteps. Ended up with a boy who insists on physics. No matter, from now on you're my daughter. Your parents might not care, but I do. He continued, they can't tell fish from pearls, don't watch the news. Lots of real estate firms have gone bankrupt these past years. I've seen Ken's family's company financials, looks good outside, but is actually crumbling. I did well on the exams, enough for a prestigious university, but I felt a pull to become the professor's student. Bringing honor to him sounded great. However, he firmly refused. Becky, you and John should look forward, never back at this old man. You've already fulfilled my only wish, I have no regrets. Don't let me hold you back. Parents, they're not all the same. Even before the results came in, I received a letter from David, a math professor from the University of Chicago and editor of the Journal of Symbolic Logic. He wrote, I've long studied this problem unsuccessfully, and was thrilled to see your elegant solution. Please accept my heartfelt congratulations on your impressive achievement. The University of Chicago was hosting a top-level math logic conference and invited me as the sole representative from Asia. That summer at 18, I traveled to the U.S.to give a 40-minute lecture at the prestigious conference. News channels around the world streamed my story. Afterward, a system I'd long left behind suddenly reappeared. I could finally ask system, why did you change the rules for me? The system's voice was mechanical yet felt warm, almost human. I couldn't stand the lazy reaping everything while the diligent got nothing. I was supposed to help your sister tackle that global math challenge. But when she ditched math for a game, I knew her ceiling was merely a high degree, then swapping it and her looks threw me for marriage and kids. Banking on a husband for a life upgrade. She didn't deserve me. I've seen you work tirelessly day and night. Even with the tiniest progress, you've never given up. And that's exactly the spirit needed for research. You're the one truly suited for this talent. So I chose to help you break the rules of the game. I was stunned for a moment and then asked, System, didn't you face any punishment for breaking the rules? The system's voice was still mechanical, but I sensed a bit of gritted determination. I, was tossed from a world of strong female leads to a world filled with melodrama. The main god said that since I hated those romantic female leads so much, he'd let me witness them all over the place. What a cruel punishment. Enough about that. My romance-obsessed protagonist is at it again, thinking about dying for a man, so I gotta go save her. But I never regret my choice. You are the strongest, bravest, and hardest working host I've ever picked. All of this, you deserve it. Let me take all the punishment for you. After a long beep, the system disappeared from my world forever, as if it had never been there. When I got back home, I received an acceptance letter from a top university. At the same time, 3 academicians from the Chinese Academy of Sciences wrote to the Central Education Department, recommending that I be provided with the best academic environment. Even though I had just graduated with my bachelor's, right before I started my master's, I was appointed as a full professor-level researcher at a prestigious university, making me the youngest full professor in all of China. I kept diving deep into math research and published my second academic paper 2 years later in the Journal of the American Mathematical Society. Meanwhile, I set my next research direction: big data mining. Things change. Real estate, once dominating, was now on its last legs. My parents mortgaged the house and borrowed money from relatives to invest in Ken's group's financial product, promising a 20% return. It went belly up, leaving them deep in debt. They spent their entire life savings in the blink of an eye and lost their minds, needing Lily to get them into a mental hospital. Ken's group, after adding up $2 trillion in debt, finally went bankrupt. Buildings left unfinished stood as testaments to the exploitation and erosion by capital. Ken and Lily's marriage, held together by their kid, finally ended. Lily, with her son, married one man after another, each one worse than the last, none lasting more than a few years. Her once prized looks inevitably faded day by day. Lily's life plummeted rapidly without an end in sight. Suddenly, I remembered something from the records of the grand historian. It said those who serve others with beauty, once that beauty fades, love fades, and once love fades, so does favor. Women who rely on their looks to serve others lose their favor once they lose their beauty. Yeah, having a bit of brains feels pretty good. The seemingly unsolvable problems in life have had their endings repeated countless times in history 1,000 years ago. These past 2 years, with the rise of short video platforms, my big data mining research finally transitioned from theory to application, landing me with 10% of the platform's initial shares. John made some solid progress in the field of physics too. His team solved the lithium battery storage problem, allowing China to overtake traditional automotive powerhouses and establishing itself as the undeniable leader in new energy electric vehicles. Flipping through the book Mathematical Thought from Past to Present that changed my fate, I saw John on the news, all suited up and looking sharp, blushing just like he did when we first met. To solve the lithium battery storage problem, there's only one person I need to thank, Professor Becky. Thanks to her for not forgetting to include me in her acknowledgments at every academic conference. Then his beautiful eyes fixated on the screen, his long, pale hand nervously clutching his sleek suit, as if he could see me through the screen. Even though I'm not yet a big success, I still want to ask her if she'd like to be with me. I vaguely remembered that summer when I was abandoned by my parents, and John tried everything to cheer me up with homemade meals. I'm allergic to fish and shrimp, so the family table has never seen fish or shrimp all these years. We walked through rainy youth together, faced different life challenges, and pursued separate scientific paths. But we never drifted apart, never separated. Gentlemen can achieve harmony without being identical. If I hadn't met John, I'm not sure if my life's path would have been rewritten by Lily and my parents that day. But I am deeply grateful to him for seeing the glowing spirit beneath my rough surface. A spirit dyed by tireless effort. Just work hard, and everything will fall into place. Life will never let a hard worker down. The end.